What is happening there, Reject Nation? We got ourselves finally, the trailer for the show that cost $4.8 billion to put together.
Roughly.
Lord of the Rings Amazon series trailer. Hit that like button if you can. Guys, I'm only gonna watch this once. So watch this with the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox. Oh!
See what you did there.
Gimli!
Nice. Nice. I stand by potatoes.
Chicken breakfast.
Haven't you ever wondered what else is out there? There's wonders in this world beyond our wandering. I can feel it.
Wow. Dang.
Sweet. I know what I'm doing for my birthday. I don't know what's going on, but man, do I have nipple chills right now.
I kept getting like the music, the visuals, like that looked expensive.
Just
That
lead
was-
with gravitas.
That was a very expensive trailer.
That was so impactful and so much without, like, there was not a lot of dialogue. It was just emotion. It was just emoting at us.
You can see where all that money's gone to.
Woo!
It's really taking advantage of that budget. Early on, like halfway through it, I was thinking, you know, there is something kind of refreshing about seeing the imagery here. It has this like cinematic scale to it, but it still feels like a television show, if that makes sense.
It also feels familiar but different, which is the goal always of rebooting or remastering, right?
Well, I think it does because of the fact that Peter Jackson's not directing it. And the Lord of the Rings imagery is so iconic, and even like when you look at Lord of the Rings and then even the Hobbit trilogy, it still feels like it's directed by the same person.
Sure.
You see this stuff here and you're like, this doesn't feel like, it feels like inspiration influenced, but it doesn't look like Peter Jackson's behind the camera on it. I like the fact that I don't really know what's going on. I guess the question is like, we got to know really what's at stake. We got to know who our characters are. When you're already taking care of the biggest stakes possible in your world with the Lord of the Rings, now it's about getting us invested in these brand new characters and seeing like, what's their perilous journey going to be like? Are their lives going to be at stake to the point where we're going to be concerned if they live or die throughout it? Because, you know, you can do as much world building as you want, but if you don't give a shit about the characters, then none of this is really going to matter. I want to get a little bit more of a sense of that, but in terms of a first impression, you're like, yep, that looks expensive and it looks like Lord of the Rings. We're doing it and the music is great. Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, this was certainly a dazzling first look. I'm sitting here really kind of holding my breath because I feel like this, I'm wary of this prospect because of what you just said, which is we've seen the kind of defining story of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the age that this takes place in ends with the vanquishing of Sauron, if I'm remembering that correctly. Part of me hopes that it doesn't fall into the trap that I feel like, you know, something like a Harry Potter has with the Grindelwald series, where it's like, we gotta come up with a new thing to kind of rival the stakes of having a Voldemort, but that's not the same thing. Granted, there are tons and tons of extended writings of J.R.R. Tolkien to draw from, and it definitely looks like they've realized the world beautifully. Now I just hope that they truly have, because in talking about the show, some of the, you know, creators and stuff have said, you know, like, we gotta do whatever we want here. That is exciting, but also makes me a little afraid, because as we've also seen with like Game of Thrones, when you run out of that structured source material, you can sometimes end up having something that looks beautiful and that is kind of empty inside. So really, I just hope that they have a great story, because you don't need me to tell you the production values look incredible, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is like they gave them all the money in the world to make this, and it's all riding off of the title. Like, that's the crazy.
Nothing else.
Yeah,
Like, no actors, no specific anything except a title.
Coy, you're being unusually quiet.
I'm a bit overwhelmed because I had been only casually excited. I like Lord of the Rings, but it was never the fandom that I felt like I knew enough to commit to. It's one of those fandoms like Star Trek and Star Wars where I'm like, I love it, but that's a strong word because there are people that love it so much they blankety blank, like fill in here. I really enjoyed the trailer, but I definitely am excited to watch it as something that I don't have 100 associations to. My expectations are coming from a consumer standpoint. I never get that feeling. I get to actually be like, I'm not trying to fill in blanks. I'm not trying to Easter egg. I'm not trying to look for things that reference a panel from my childhood. I get to actually go like, what are those moose guys at the beginning? Look at them go. They look cool. And like, it was really nice as a consumer to be like, this looks dope and I don't know what's going on, and I look forward to that for the entire run.
Well, you see, you brought up an interesting point, which is that this show is supposed to take place like thousands of years before the first movie we ever got, right? It looks like there's maybe they're going to the battle at first. Like, there was one shot there that seemed like, you know, the opening battle of Lord of the Rings. I mean, the real book readers and the real people who know the movie so well know what's that battle called?
Oh,
with the hand, with the
yeah,
hands
when Isildur slices Sauron's fingers off and all that stuff.
Beautiful. It looks like they might be going to that, but other than that moment, what I was actually surprised by with this trailer was it didn't do the trick that I thought they would do, which is, oh my god, they're back! Oh my god, nostalgia. Like, they didn't
Zero
do any
nostalgia.
of that. Like, this whole thing would seem like,
title.
I don't know who these people are. I don't know what that is.
And the
it
arrow
looks like a
moments
black
and, like,
elf.
the
That's
stuff.
about it. That's about the difference that you can get in that.
They were smart by doing moments that were like the badass moments, like the arrow shooting, turn around, blah, 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 the action set pieces, but having a slow pace to build to those. It was only a minute, but we had like slow build, slow build. Like, it was investing. I know nothing.
It's still at the same time, though, if it wasn't called The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, I'd be like, this kind of still looks like another fantasy show that I'm willing to skip over.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. They're reaching into Lord of the Rings to fill their we need a Game of Thrones type of void. And to your point about, like, you know, not doing the thing, I am curious because, again, they've said, like, oh yeah, you know, this opens the door. We can use familiar characters and non-familiar characters. And part of what I am maybe a bit excited for is that you might get more expansions on characters that we saw mainly through flashbacks in the original films, because yeah, you see the battle that is supposed to end this epic, and this epic is supposed to see the rise of the ring wraiths and, you know, the forging of the 20 rings of power and all that stuff. So I mean, you'll at least get Sauron and some other people he was involved with. But yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if beyond maybe Elrond is that old or something, you would see anybody like
I know you'll see Galadriel. I know they released it. See, that this thing is like, maybe we did see some characters and I'm like, oh, that's just a different casting, and I didn't know. Yeah.
And that's what's gonna be interesting for me is like The Hobbit had Orlando Bloom in them a ton more than I expected, and the whole time I kept being like, is this in the book or is that guy just handsome? I'm like wondering if they're gonna do that with this show where they're like, we can make up whatever we want, so this guy's been alive a little longer. Like, it is interesting because there's such a lore, there's such a fandom, there's such a strong association, but not to this, but to stuff like this.
Yeah.
And because this is brand new. At the end of the day, they put a lot of money into something that isn't technically a book. It's just based on books. So
Sure.
I don't know if they've ever...
writings,
Yeah, this is the first of its kind thing. I don't think that anyone's ever invested this much money into a thing that wasn't actually source material directly associated with an IP.
Yeah.
It's like an IP adjacent. Like, it's like a what if, but big.
Yeah.
It's further down the Hobbit road. They took all that extra writing and they supplemented the Hobbit. And
if
they're
the first-
let's go even further with that.
But like, this is elevensies. Like, we've had breakfast. We'll see what this is. We'll find out together. And I'm excited because it looks gorgeous. There are only so many hours in the day, and I love that we live in an age of I've got to pick my battles with genre content, but I don't have time for even the stuff that I'm invested in the source material of, so I hope there's enough of a draw in the first few episodes. And that's what's hard, is this is by definition a slower burn because you don't want it to feel rushed. The beautiful thing about Lord of the Rings is that it takes its time. Homies walk a long way.
It's
kind of the thing, yeah. So you don't want to rush, like, don't jump on that eagle and fly to Mordor, don't you do it. Like, I want to take my time, but if I don't know these characters, will I want to hang out with them enough to be invested to walk to Mordor? More potatoes, though.
More potatoes, man.
Those are my thoughts. I hope I'm invested in the potato at all.
All right, guys. Well, are you investing in the potato? Leave your thoughts down below. Are you excited for this? Subscribe, click that bell, hit that like button. Catch you guys soon.